This audiobook is an unofficial presentation of biography of First Lady Melania Trump is the wife of Donald Trump. First Lady Melania Trump is the wife of Donald Trump, the 45th President of the United States. Born on April 26, 1970, First Lady Melania Trump is a former model and current third wife of U.S. President, real estate billionaire and former reality TV star Donald Trump. Early life. Melania Trump was born on April 26, 1970 in Novo Mesto, Slovenia, then part of communist Yugoslavia. Her father was a car dealer and her mother was a designer for children's clothing. She grew up in a modest home with her younger sister and later discovered she had an older half-brother, whom her father had from a previous relationship. Modeling career. At 16 Trump began modeling and 2 years later, signed on with an agency in Milan. Although she attended the University of Ljubljana, she dropped out after 1 year to pursue her modeling career. Since 2006 she had previously claimed she had earned a degree in architecture and design from the university. In her early days of modeling, Trump worked in Milan and Paris, before moving to New York in 1996. There she gained steady work, working with well-known photographers like Patrick DeMarchelier and Helmut Newton and landing covers on magazines such as Harper's Bazaar, Bulgaria, Vanity Fair, Italy, GQ, for which she posed nude in January 2000, and Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. Despite more than a year of heavy scrutiny for Donald Trump, we still know surprisingly little about his wife, First Lady Melania Trump. From a disastrous speech at the Republican National Convention in July, which was found to be partially plagiarized from First Lady Michelle Obama, the former model kept a fairly low profile during the election campaign. Commentators speculated as to why Melania could not be seen stumping for her husband across the country, as past wives have done. Perhaps the campaign feared her status as a foreigner complete with heavy accent would undermine Trump's appeal to anti-immigrant voters. If so, they were probably wrong, says Vox, whose polling of U.S. voters found European immigrants are perceived very differently from Latin American or Middle Eastern immigrants. Trump's checkered marital history could also be to blame. Melania is the first third wife to take up residence in the White House, says i24 News, and giving her a high-profile position in the campaign would risk increased media focus on the businessman's 2 previous marriages and multiple infidelities. Or was she simply not interested in the spotlight? The world will probably find out much more about Melania Trump over the next 4 years. But, for now, here are some of the things you might not know about the new First Lady. Marriage to Donald Trump. Melania is Donald's third wife. The former Melania now started dating Donald Trump in 1998, married him in 2005 and gave birth to their son, Baron, the following year. Before Melania, Donald was married for a few years in the 1990s to Marla Maples, a television personality, former beauty queen and mother to their daughter Tiffany Trump. The couple met while the businessman was still with his first wife, Czechoslovakian Ivana Zelníková, who he had married in 1977. They have 3 children: Ivanka, Eric and eldest child Donald Trump Jr., who, at 38, is 8 years younger than his stepmother Melania. Ivana and Donald were leading socialites in New York during the 1980s. But their marriage ended with a very public divorce in 1992. Absolutely fabulous star Jennifer Saunders says some of the inspiration for the show's fashionista Patsy Stone, played by Joanna Lumley, came from Ivana, who often sports a high blonde beehive. Melania met her future husband Donald Trump at a New York fashion party in 1998. Although she first refused to date him, the couple eventually began establishing a relationship and were engaged in 2004. The following year they married in a lavish Palm Beach, Florida ceremony with celebrity attendees including Shaquille O'Neal, Barbara Walters, Kelly Ripa, Matt Lauer, Katie Couric, and President Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, who was then a senator from New York State. In 2006, Trump gave birth to Baron William Trump. Their son is husband Donald's fifth child. That same year she also became a U.S. citizen. She refused to give Trump her number. The billionaire asked Melania for her number at a party in New York in 1998 and she said no. Melania, then 28, was there at the invitation of Paolo Zampalli, the Italian businessman who set her up as a model in the U.S. The property tycoon future husband Donald, then a notorious playboy, had arrived with another woman, but he sent her to the bathroom so he could chat up the model. However, Melania knew his reputation, so when he asked for her number she refused and instead asked him for his details. She told GQ magazine, "If I give him my number, I'm just one of the women he calls." She waited to see if he would give her a personal or a business number, to assess what his intentions might be. "It tells you a lot from the man what kind of number he gives you," she said. Trump, it seems, was serious, giving her all of his numbers, she revealed. Hillary Clinton went to her wedding. Bill and Hillary Clinton were among the 350 guests when Melania and Donald tied the knot at the groom's landmark Mar-a-Lago estate in Palm Beach, Florida. According to GQ, the bride wore a $100,000 Dior dress with 1,500 crystals, which took a legendary 550 hours to make. It had a 13-feet train and the bride wore a 16-feet veil. However, the gown was so difficult to walk in that Melania changed into a Vera Wang hand-ruched silk tulle Grecian dress for the poolside after-party. Her 12-carat, emerald-cut Groff wedding ring is said to be worth £1.5 m. Melania's sister, Ines, was the maid of honor and Donald's two sons, Donald Jr. and Eric, served as best men. Guests including Heidi Klum, Barbara Walters, and Simon Cowell slurped caviar and crystal in the shadow of a 5-foot-tall Grand Marnier wedding cake, says GQ, while The Hollywood Reporter says the 7-tier chef overweighed more than 200 pounds. She grew up in communist Yugoslavia and speaks 5 languages: Slovene, English, French, Serbian and German, if you want to know. That linguistic prowess could come in handy at White House functions, but it has been suggested her thick accent is the reason she makes few public speeches alongside her immigrant-bashing husband. Melania was raised away from the glamour of New York high society in a concrete tower block in then Yugoslavia during the rule of Marshal Josip Tito. Now that her husband has become president, Melania is the first lady to be born in a communist nation and only the second to be born abroad, after Louisa Adams, the English wife of 6th President John Quincy, who served from 1825 to 1829. She has a secret half-brother. While preparing a profile of the First Lady for GQ, reporter Julia Ioffe made a startling discovery: Melania's father, Victor Naves, who the former model describes as traditional and hard-working, fathered a secret son before marrying Melania's mother. Naves agreed to pay child support after a court battle proved he was Denis Segelmjak's father, a claim he initially contested. However, he has never contacted his son nor acknowledged his existence. Now aged 50, Sigelnjak still lives in the family's native Slovenia. Melania initially said the reports were false, but later, confronted with court documents, claimed she had misunderstood the question and had known about her half-brother for years. Role in 2016 U.S. presidential election. In November 2015, when asked about her husband's presidential campaign, Trump said, "I encouraged him because I know what he will do and what he can do for America. He loves the American people and he wants to help them." Trump played a relatively small role in her husband's campaign, atypical of spouses of presidential running mates. In July 2016, Trump's official website was redirected to Trump.com. On Twitter, she stated that her site was outdated and did not accurately reflect her current business and professional interests. On July 18, 2016, Trump gave a speech at the 2016 Republican National Convention. The speech contained a paragraph that was nearly identical to a paragraph of Michelle Obama's speech at the 2008 Democratic National Convention. When asked about the speech, Trump said she wrote the speech herself with as little help as possible. 2 days later, Trump staff writer Meredith McKeever took responsibility and apologized for the confusion. In February 2017, Trump sued Mail Media, the owner of the Daily Mail, seeking $150 million in damages over an August 2016 article which falsely alleged that she had worked for an escort service during her modeling days. The Mail retracted the article, apologized, and printed the retraction from the blogger they were quoting, who said, "I had no legitimate factual basis to make these false statements and I fully retract them." The lawsuit stated the article had ruined her unique, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to establish multi-million-dollar business relationships for a multi-year term during which plaintiff is one of the most photographed women in the world. Her claim raised potential ethical questions, but the First Lady is not an employee of the government and not a government official. On February 18, the lawsuit was amended, removing the language about her earning potential and focusing instead on emotional distress. In April 2017, the parties settled the lawsuit for $2.9 million. 5 days before the election, she told a crowd of supporters in Pennsylvania, "Our culture has gotten too mean and too rough, especially to children and teenagers. It is never okay when a 12-year-old girl or boy is mocked, bullied, or attacked. It is terrible when that happens on the playground. And it is absolutely unacceptable when it is done by someone with no name hiding on the internet." Regarding the contrast of her platform with her husband's use of Twitter during his campaign, Melania said shortly after the election that she had rebuked him all the time but that he will do what he wants to do in the end. Presidential campaign trail. When Donald Trump announced his intentions to make a 2016 presidential bid for the White House, the normally private Melania was pushed into the national spotlight along with her past modeling work, some of which were considered racy. One of the first controversial images that began circulating online was her 2000 British GQ spread that had her lying naked on a fur blanket. But the controversy didn't stop there. In July 2016, Melania Trump gave a speech at the Republican National Convention, which in some parts, were found to be identical to Michelle Obama's 2008 Democratic National Convention speech. Initially claiming she wrote the speech, Trump was lambasted by the media and the public for plagiarism. Shortly thereafter, Trump staff writer Meredith McKeever took responsibility for the gaffe, claiming she accidentally included part of Obama's speech in Trump's talking points. McKeever issued the following statement explaining what transpired. In working with Melania on her recent First Lady speech, we discussed many people who inspired her and messages she wanted to share with the American people. A person she has always liked is Michelle Obama. Over the phone, she read me some passages from Mrs. Obama's speech as examples. I wrote them down and later included some of the phrasing in the draft that ultimately became the final speech. Not long after, more controversy followed. On July 30, 2016, the New York Post published nude photos of a then 25-year-old Melania Trump, including one where she lay in bed with another woman. Many of the photos were published for a men's French magazine that is no longer in circulation. Discussing the nude photos, Donald told the Post, "Melania was one of the most successful models and she did many photo shoots, including for covers and major magazines. This was a picture taken for a European magazine prior to my knowing Melania. In Europe, pictures like this are very fashionable and common." In November, Melania Trump delivered a rare speech on the campaign trail outlining how fighting cyberbullying would be a priority for her if she were to become First Lady. "We need to teach our youth American values: kindness, honesty, respect, compassion, charity, understanding, cooperation," said Trump. News outlets were quick to point out the irony that her husband is known for his use of the social media platform Twitter to insult and taunt opponents and critics. That same month, her husband won the election. First Lady. She is the only First Lady to have posed nude. 3 years before she met Donald, Melania posed nude for a French men's monthly magazine. The bombshell photo set, obtained by the New York Post, shows her lying naked in a bed alongside Scandinavian model Eriksson.Photographer Jarl de Basseville, who took the pictures, says the images are beauty and not porn, adding, "I always loved women together because I have been with a lot of women who desired the menage a trois." An unnamed insider said Melania behaved like a true professional during the shoot and was charming throughout. Donald, meanwhile, said, "In Europe, pictures like this are very fashionable and common." On November 8, 2016, Donald Trump won the majority of Electoral College votes and was elected the 45th President of the United States in a stunning defeat of Hillary Clinton. With her husband's victory, Melania Trump became the first foreign-born U.S. First Lady since Louisa Adams, John Quincy Adams's wife, who was born in London. As Donald Trump prepared for his transition to power, he told reporters that Melania and their son Barron would stay in New York City while he moved into the White House, allowing Barron to finish the year at his private school on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. Her official portrait has caused a stir. Melania's first official portrait, taken by Belgian photographer Rugine Maho, was taken from around 7,000 photos shot over a 3-day stint with the Trump family in January, the photographer's brother Benoit, who also worked on the shoot, said. Time reports. The photo, taken in a second-floor residential area of the White House, shows the First Lady in a jet black jacket, looking directly at the camera with her arms folded and lips parted in a slight smile. Its accompanying statement reads, "I am honored to serve in the role of First Lady and look forward to working on behalf of the American people over the coming years." They poses in stark contrast to that of her predecessor Michelle Obama, who was pictured smiling with open arms. Instead, Vogue observes, Melania's stance and backdrop seem to echo that chosen by Nancy Reagan for her First Lady portrait. However, the First Lady's seemingly guarded pose has attracted some backlash, with the Boston Globe asking, "What's with the crossed arms?" Melania's cool, distant gaze seems more in keeping with her runway model past than her current role, adds the newspaper. However, that backlash has been met with its own backlash, as other publications claimed the overanalysis of Melania's appearance and posture was unfair and sexist. The Globe's article would have been slammed as a sexist atrocity had it been about any other woman, said the National Review. Meanwhile, Vanity Fair says Melania's choice of a tuxedo jacket by Italian luxury house Dolce & Gabbana was particularly curious, given her husband's constant promises to revive American industry. While Melania has occasionally worn U.S. designers, continues the magazine, she more often opts for European labels, creating a stark dissonance with her husband's inflammatory rhetoric on global trade and emphasis on American manufacturing. She doesn't always want to hold hands. In a flick of the wrist seen around the world, Melania appeared to rebuff her husband's offer of his hand on the couple's first visit to Israel together. The couple were greeted at the foot of the stairs of Air Force One by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his wife Sarah, then escorted along the red carpet to a podium for a formal welcome ceremony. Video footage shows the U.S. president reach for his wife's hand, but the First Lady appears to swat her husband's hand away with a visible flick of her wrist, CNN says. "Well, this is embarrassing," Israeli publication Haaretz wrote on Twitter, posting a slow-motion video of the incident. The footage has been retweeted more than 43,000 times as of writing. According to CNN, it is unclear what led to the hand swat. Perhaps the First Lady, who studied extensively ahead of the trip, did not want to buck protocol, since their Israeli counterparts did not appear to be holding hands at that particular moment. Or maybe there was a bug, the site adds. She can't distinguish between pizza and potica. In one of the more awkward moments of her first official trip abroad as First Lady, Melania appeared to misunderstand one of the Pope's jokes. Accompanying the U.S. President on his visit to the Vatican, she was asked by the pontiff, "What are you feeding him, potica?" Melania appeared to reply uncertainly, "Pizza," before smiling and answering, "Yes." Grinning, the Pope then turned to Donald Trump. The commander-in-chief also laughed, the New York Post says, but it wasn't clear if he got the joke. Pope Francis had prepared his specifically for the First Lady. Potica, pronounced potica, is a Slovenian dessert, which the pontiff reportedly loves. However, some journalists and onlookers thought he had been making a rude comment about the president's waistline. The misunderstanding was swiftly dubbed number Pizzagate, The Guardian says. Melania Trump's mistake is perhaps understandable given her husband's well-known love of fast food, the paper adds. Not to mention this commercial the president once starred in, which seems to hint at all kinds of unsavory behavior. She sued the Daily Mail for reporting on escort allegations. The Daily Mail has paid an undisclosed sum to Melania after it reported on false allegations that she once worked as an escort. Its double-page spread, published last August, during the U.S. election campaign, was titled, "Racy Photos and Troubling Questions About His Wife's Past That Could Derail Trump." It was later taken down from the website. Melania filed a libel claim in February reportedly seeking damages of $150 million, £120 million. A statement read out at the Royal Courts of Justice in April said the article included false and defamatory claims, which questioned the nature of her work as a professional model and republished allegations that she provided services beyond simply modeling. Continued, the allegations strike at the heart of the claimant's personal integrity and dignity. The Daily Mail published a retraction and an apology in both the newspaper and on its website, saying, "We accept that these allegations about Ms. Trump are not true and we retract and withdraw them. We apologize to Ms. Trump for any distress that our publication caused her. To settle Ms. Trump's 2 lawsuits against us, we have agreed to pay her damages and costs." The amount paid was not disclosed, but it is understood to be around $3 million, £2.4 million, which would cover her legal actions. The Daily Mail in the UK and the US. 1491398375716. Her Twitter account liked a meme mocking her marriage to Donald Trump. The internet is in a frenzy after the famously enigmatic Melania appeared to have liked a tweet that mocked her marriage to the President of the United States. Left-wing blogger Andy Ostroy had tweeted a well-known GIF from Trump's inauguration, showing Melania smiling at her husband when he turned to look at her, only for her to frown as soon as he turned away. Seems the only number wall at real Donald Trump's build is the one between him and at FLOTUS number Melania number Trump, Ostroy wrote. So far, so normal, the BBC says. But then the unexpected happened. Melania liked the tweet. At first Ostroy believed it to be a fake account. However, the BBC reports, it is indeed the real Ms. Trump's handle, although she has not used it since November 8, 2016, instead taking up the official at FLOTUS account. Furthermore, at Melania Trump has only ever liked one other tweet, which she had posted herself. Perhaps the user of this account, who swiftly removed the like after about half an hour, is merely inexperienced, or perhaps those Free Melania campaigners have a point. She is becoming America's mom-in-chief. Melania has so far stayed out of the limelight throughout much of husband's presidency, citing her commitment to the care of their son Barron for not fully engaging with the usual duties of her office, The Washington Post says. One duty she has kept up, however, is her commitment to mothering. Melania's first official engagement as First Lady was to read a book to young patients at a hospital in Manhattan, while one of the very few events she has hosted at the White House was for the mothers of military veterans. As everyone in this room knows, mother is a title that claims your heart and changes your life forever, she told them. In fact, it has been said that having a child means allowing your heart to walk around outside of your body. For the mothers of someone who has or is serving our country, this must be especially true. According to the Washington Post, mothering seems to be what compels Ms. Trump, and even the demands of Washington and her husband's ascension to the highest office in the nation have not deterred her from that first priority. She is finally moving to the White House. When Donald Trump became president in January and moved into the White House in Washington, D.C., Melania raised some eyebrows by remaining in New York with their son Barron, so he could finish 5th grade at his $44,000 a year, £34,000, school, Columbia Grammar and Preparatory School, in Manhattan. Rumors swirled for months that she might stay in the Big Apple permanently, leading to media criticism that she couldn't carry out her duties as First Lady from New York. However, a White House spokeswoman has confirmed Barron, now 11, will be changing schools to go to St. Andrew's Episcopal, a private preparatory school which lies around a 30-minute drive from the White House. While the date of their move from Trump Tower has not been announced, the school term begins on September 5, so Melania and Barron should be in the White House before then. She is very protective of her family. The First Lady has been relatively judicious about her use of official public statements or social media since her husband assumed office, but she broke her silence recently after images emerged of comedian Kathy Griffin holding a prop that was made to look like the bloodied, severed head of Donald Trump. Melania released a statement that read, "As a mother, a wife, and a human being, that photo is very disturbing. When you consider some of the atrocities happening in the world today, a photo opportunity like this is simply wrong and makes you wonder about the mental health of the person who did it." Griffin apologized, saying that after seeing the reaction to the photos she realized she had crossed the line. It is not the first time the First Lady has reacted strongly in defense of her family. In November, Melania threatened to sue a YouTuber who had posted a video suggesting her son may have autism. The video was later removed. Rumors continue to circulate about her marriage. According to US Weekly, an insider has told the magazine that Melania and her husband do not share a bed. They have separate bedrooms. They never spend the night together ever, the unnamed source said. A representative for Melania immediately and strenuously denied the claim, telling the magazine, "It's unfortunate that you are going to feature unnamed sources that have provided fictional accounts." The first couple's marriage has long been the subject of speculation, gossip, and innuendo, most of which, including the US Weekly report, is likely to be entirely unfounded. There's been much speculation about whether or not Donald Trump, 70, and wife Melania, 46, can stand to be around each other, says the New York Magazine. Some have pointed to clips of the President and First Lady interacting awkwardly as evidence of their true feelings, while others have taken Melania's choice to not move into the White House immediately as proof that she's deliberately trying to avoid seeing her husband every day. She thinks freedom and equality are critical for women. In a speech at the White House on International Women's Day, the First Lady said she sees freedom and equality as crucial for guaranteeing women's rights in society, the Daily Telegraph says. As an immigrant myself, having grown up in a communist society, I know all too well the value and importance of freedom and equal opportunity, ideals which this great nation was founded and has continued to strive towards throughout its history, she said. According to the notes of her speech obtained by CNN. She added that Americans must help women around the world escape brutal atrocities including forced incarceration and human trafficking. Melania said, "There remains far more brutal and terrifying incarnations of actual gender persecution which we must face together, such as forced enslavement, sexual abuse, and absolute repression of far too many women and girls around the globe. We must remember these women in our daily prayers and use our combined resources to help free them from such unthinkable and inhumane circumstances." More than 50 guests attended the event, including Melania's stepdaughter Ivanka Trump, Karen Pence, wife of Vice President Mike, Kellyanne Conway, Donald Trump's counselor, and Education Secretary Betsy DeVos. She supports her husband's hardline stance on immigration. Although it's not surprising for a candidate's wife to back her husband's policies, some were taken aback by Melania's enthusiasm for the Republicans' tough rhetoric on migrants, having immigrated to the U.S. herself. "I follow the law, she told an MSNBC interviewer. "I never thought to stay here without papers." She was equally unfazed when pressed about Donald's comments on criminals crossing the border into the U.S. "I don't feel he insulted the Mexicans," she said. "He said illegal immigrants." But she does wish Donald would act more presidential. During a rally in Arizona, Donald told the crowd both his wife and his eldest daughter, Ivanka, don't entirely approve of his behavior. "My wife and my daughter said to me, 'Act presidential.'" "Act presidential," he said. Melania insists she isn't shy when it comes to giving her husband political advice. "I give him my opinions, many times," she told CNN. "I don't agree with everything that he says, but, you know, that is normal," she added. "I'm my own person, I tell him what I think. I'm standing very strong on the ground on my 2 feet and I'm my own person. And I think that's very important in the relationship." Asked what habit she would like to see her husband give up, Melania didn't have to ponder her answer for long. "The tweeting," she said. On her own Twitter account, Melania mostly sticks to the blandest of updates. The New York skyline features heavily, as do photos of food and fashion. She is raising her son as Little Donald. 10-year-old Baron apparently loves wearing a suit and tie and playing golf with his dad. He is also said to share his father's love of bossing people around. He fired nannies, fired housekeepers, Melania said in a 2011 interview, adding that he quickly hired them back. Baron is closer in age to his nephews and nieces than his own siblings and spends more time with his mother because of his father's busy travel schedule. He is a very strong-minded, very special, smart boy. He is independent and opinionated and knows exactly what he wants. Sometimes I call him Little Donald. He is a mixture of us in looks, but his personality is why I call him Little Donald, Melania told Parenting.com. Donald has described his wife as an incredible mother. "She loves her son, Baron, so much, and I have to say, she will make an unbelievable first lady," he said prior to his election. Ivanka may take her place as first lady. After Melania's announcement that she wishes to stay in New York City until her son Baron finishes school, there has been speculation that Donald's daughter Ivanka Trump may take her place as the acting First Lady of the United States until Melania moves to Washington. Ivanka, daughter of Donald and Ivana Trump, was allowed to sit in on her father's meeting with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe in November, and it has been speculated that her retreat from the vice president position at Trump Corporation may indicate that she is being readied for a more political position. While some may find the temporary appointment a little unusual, especially after the president-elect's comments on Ivanka in the past, Donald Trump would not be the first president to have someone other than his wife serve as First Lady. Thomas Jefferson appointed Martha, his daughter, as First Lady following the death of his wife, while Martin Van Buren appointed his daughter-in-law Angelica after also becoming a widower. She was the subject of a creepy call with Howard Stern. In 1999, when her husband was considering running as president, representing the Reform Party, Melania took part in a sexually charged conversation live on air with shock jock Howard Stern. The DJ had been chatting to Donald when the conversation turned to Melania. "Let me talk to that broad in your bed," Stern said. Melania, apparently scantily clad and conveniently sitting nearby, was summoned to the phone, Mother Jones reports, adding, with Stern oozing his creepiest charm, things rapidly got weird. Stern insisted the former model should put on your hottest outfit for a night out with him and Donald, and then asked her what she was wearing. Not much," she replied. "Are you naked? Are you nude?" Stern said. "Almost." Melania said. "Ah, I've got my pants off already," replied Stern. Other projects. In 2010, Melania Trump launched a jewelry line, as well as a skincare line. She has appeared in an Aflac commercial, co-hosted on The View, and appeared on her husband's NBC reality show, Celebrity Apprentice.